Yeah, you're on the show 89.7 PBA FM. You have Pete and Nona in the studio here with you. Bit of Bruno Mars. She said, you've got to put this song before the guests come in.
Why are you playing such depressing music tonight?
What? That is a lovely tribute to...
To what?
To
what,
his
Pete?
previous love that he's lost along the way and trying to find again. You know?
Yeah.
It's a love song written for the ages. I don't know why you're so down on love, Nona.
You know what's for the ages? Our podcast. Hey, worst segue ever.
Nailed it.
Please welcome our guests. We have Jon Brooks and Mike Klimczak. And hey, welcome, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers for having us.
No, thanks for coming in. It breaks up the monotony that is with the other two people that we have in the studio.
You know, we both know Nona in the real world, and we know exactly what you're talking
Yeah. Like, world's boringest person.
Mr. Excitement. Guys, you're here for a reason.
Self-promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we like to have people in as well, because then that helps promote us.
Yeah.
So one hand kind of washes the other. But you guys are actually, like, we've been talking about doing a podcast for a long time. You guys are actually doing it.
You say us guys. Jon is doing a podcast.
Yeah, I'm even more socially isolated than you guys.
I came over to his house for dinner and he just started recording.
Then it was on.
Yeah.
You were wondering why you had to sign a consent form with your lasagna. This is
Yeah. He spelled the form out in lasagna sauce. It was...
I like that idea.
Details.
So tell us the news. Tell us what's the podcast name and what is it about?
Okay, so it's called the Lofty Ambitions Podcast. The whole idea behind it is I'm terribly unfit, but I'm also a shameless self-promoter. So rather than get fit in the silence and obscurity that I should be doing it at, I've basically decided to recruit my good friend Mike, who's the occasional distance runner and just generally an all-round healthier version of me. And he's going to help me whip myself into shape and trudge up Mount Lofty, hopefully without dying by Christmas.
Yay!
Oh, wow. Righto. So this podcast is a journey for that.
Yeah, that's the whole idea behind it. And the idea is to sort of go into it with an open mind. And, you know, so being stand-up comedians, we have no money at all. So we don't have the money for a personal trainer. We don't have the money for, like, the expensive diet supplements. It's about finding ways for everyday people like me to basically try and make incremental and better changes in their life.
Well, can I suggest one thing then? When you get the guy to come over to help you get fitter, maybe don't get him to come over with lasagna.
That's,
the guy.
The guy, yeah.
Mike.
Yeah.
No, just the guy.
Just yeah, when
I've
your
got a
personal
guy.
trainer when your personal trainer comes over.
Yeah. I got a guy. He comes and helps me exercise at home. My partner's at work. She doesn't know.
Well, I love this. What inspired it, or like how long has this been brewing?
Look, I think like a lot of people, like I've wanted to get fitter for a long time. What really inspired it was, I mean, I've been doing podcasts for a while. As a stand-up comic, it's a really great way to kind of keep your toe in the water. And as the pandemic hit, like, of course, everyone's gigs disappeared. I had an entire tour just disappear overnight. And a lot of people had it worse. I'm not complaining. And just, yeah, I mean, COVID kilos piled on. And I just thought, well, now's the time, because I used to be a journalist and I like documenting things over time. I like sort of having a beginning and an end and a story between those two things. That's the way my festival shows have always worked. And I thought, well, this is kind of a natural progression of that.
Nice.
And also I want that sweet podcast money.
So much money.
So much money
Oh
to be
my
made in the
God.
Adelaide podcast circuit.
You're going to be a baller. Just remember me. Like when when you're cruising with
When I've got
bitches.
the guy over at my house helping me get fit. I'm thinking of Nona right now.
Yeah.
So you said you've done podcasts before. What
Yeah.
what other podcasts have you done?
Well, I did an original one called Jon Brooks Swear Jar, which was kind of like a Joe Bogan podcast. It was just me chatting to my mates about UFOs and stupid stuff.
Oh, yeah?
The other one that I do, and I still do, is one called Gabbin' in the Woods, and it's a horror podcast, basically true crime horror, weird stories, and it's just fun. And I just do that with my good friend Liz. So she's like a vegan activist and cat lover, and we basically talk about weird stories. The weird thing about it is we're really big in Louisiana and Los Angeles, but no one here listens to it at all.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
podcasts do that. Like you'll see where you're kind of popping up.
Yeah.
and it's the most randomest places ever.
We get fan mail from like full-on Donald Trump supporting truck drivers who say they love listening to our podcast, even though we're always talking about gun control and all this sort of stuff. It's really weird.
The crimes that you're talking about and the horrors that you're talking about, are they based in New York and Louisiana?
Yeah, a lot of them are, yeah.
Okay, well, I think I found out what's happening.
Shut up, Mike. How dare you be logical?
Algorithm Mike, thank you.
That's what was the name of that one?
It's called Gabbin in the Woods. It's a play on Cabin in the Woods. Yeah.
I'll have a look at that one.
Oh, cheers. No, I appreciate it.
We've always talked about, getting onto the podcast. Saying we've just never made the effort.
Yeah, we're such lazy pieces of shit.
I know, right?
You know what? I look around, I see microphones in front of both of you.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Logical Mike.
Oh, here we go
I
again.
feel like if you press record, half the work's done.
I know. But then you've got to do other stuff after that as well. I'd rather just go home and switch off.
Yeah. You've got to find another community radio station to promote your podcast on.
Yeah.
It just becomes this self-cannibalizing system.
Now, Lofty Ambitions. The Lofty Ambitions, is it?
Just lofty ambitions.
Just Lofty Ambitions. Where will we eventually be able to listen to this?
Well, funny you say that.
Hey?
Yeah, because for the listener, we've decided we're going to launch it tonight. So if you get onto Spotify or Apple or your favorite podcast player, look for Lofty Ambitions. You'll see a guy that kind of looks a bit like Rolf Harris. That's me. I'm not as dodgy. As dodgy. And yeah, like you can hear the first episode. We're going to be uploading them every Monday, starting from next Monday. So tomorrow is just the first one. And yeah, basically get on board. Obviously, social media and all that kind of stuff. And you guys are giving us a shout out already. So jump on board the PBA FM
train.
Yeah, ice cold cans of Lofty Ambition.
I'm looking forward to the first time where you're late publishing it.
Oh, yeah.
And you put out the obligatory, guys, really sorry that the podcast isn't up yet.
Yeah.
It's going to be up in a few hours. Like, no one cares.
No one
cares. I've never looked at that and gone, phew.
You monster.
I do like that, but then you do get people that do get upset. Like
you do.
I'm getting free content. I want it now.
Well, but you know what it is? Maybe they complain. Maybe they go on your Facebook page and complain. Maybe
Yeah.
all of that is traction.
It
That's
is.
all.
Yeah.
That's all algorithm based.
Yeah, that's quote unquote engagement. And you get back to them and say, "Look, I'm really sorry we had to go away for a PCR test, and we got to isolate and do the right thing for the community," which really means
John and I were out running.
It really means that season 4 of Stranger Things dropped, and I didn't want to get off the couch.
Yeah.
Shut up!
I'll sit with Nona's
I'm
cats.
5 episodes in. It's amazing.
Yes, how good is it?
So good.
It's so good.
Yeah, so sorry, guys. The
We
first
will talk
episode of the
about
podcast is going to be late because we're watching Stranger Things at the moment.
Now, Mike, you and I were talking just off air before, and I called you. I was like, "You're like well into the fitness shit, aren't you?" And you're like, "Nah, man, I just like run for fun."
I do like that you're into the fitness shit.
Right, yeah. Okay, so some people are getting this impression like I'm
You put
I'm
one
still-
photo of yourself running
I'm
in
still
a bib.
overweight myself, but I have previously, before the pandemic, I was running a lot and managed to get up to being able to complete a half marathon.
It's amazing.
The secret is, I used to be 107 kilograms. I got down to 78.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
The secret is, what you need is a vegan girlfriend who runs ultra marathons. And once you've got that, the rest just takes care
The weight
of itself.
just drops off.
I've just got a guy.
So
You got to mind. This is
Comes around for lasagna.
Yeah.
so. I'm
Why did I hire Garfield?
It's terrible. Yeah, I'm not terribly fit. I can run if I have to at the moment, and I'm using this as well as a start for me to get back to my running and things like that.
But you're fitter than me.
I'm fitter than you. Like
Yeah.
you don't need to outrun the dragon. You just need to outrun one of the hobbits.
Yep, that's it.
So I wanted to call because John weighs. How much do you weigh, John?
200 kilos.
Right.
200 kilos, which is 2.5 me.
Yeah.
Which is what I wanted to call the podcast, 2.5 men.
Oh.
But there was legal things about that.
So the end goal basically is
Yeah.
to do Lofty.
Yeah, so rather than go, I want a thumber body or I want to fit into these stovepipe jeans or something like that, It's realistic stuff. I want to be able to go kick the footy with my son. I want to be able to go, to a cinema and be comfortable. Being a comedian, I need to be able to tour,
Yeah.
So that's actually, I don't want to drive to Sydney, So for me, it's about practical things, just making life a little bit easier, getting healthier, and just living better,
Yeah,
John's got
that's
a son
awesome.
as well.
Yeah.
And I know that when your young man came along,
Yeah.
You're all like, well, I want to see him get old.
Yeah.
And,
This is one way of doing it.
one way.
It's awesome because obviously it's like there's a lot of heart and, quite serious issues that you're
Yeah.
discussing throughout the podcast. But is it in a lighthearted
Oh,
way
yeah,
or like what can we expect from it?
It's very much a case because Mike and I love hanging shit on each other, and we're really good mates, so we can do that and safely. But it is a serious thing, so it's funny with a serious side, really.
okay.
So hopefully it's something that other people like me can get inspired by.
Well, I think the second you sent me like a little sound bite of the intro, and I just instantly felt it was really relatable stuff. Like everyone is slowly trying to work on themselves, really.
Yeah.
And so I was genuinely very excited for it. I was like, yeah.
There's no one who looks in the mirror in the morning and goes, yes! Right? Well, there's like
Yeah,
three
buddy.
people and they're all assholes.
Yeah.
Right? That's
I'm one of them. I get up out of bed and I just like, you've nailed it.
nailed it.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Exactly.
You know. So look, not everyone's on the same journey John's on or I'm on, but we're going to talk about some stuff. In this first episode, we talk about a lot of fad diets that are hectic.
Yeah.
And none of them are fad diets that John's going to try to do. John's not on a diet.
Well, it's a diet of sorts. It's just not a good one.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's all about kind of starting from scratch and learning, because I think that's what a lot of people in my position are like. It's overwhelming. And, you jump onto social media or anything like that and you kind of use the fitness hashtag and there's these Greek gods who are like, lifting 40.
I'm not Greek. I'm half Polish. Don't make it weird.
So when you're looking at doing Lofty,
Yeah,
by the end of the year as well.
pretty much.
So you've got we've got
What are we in?
6.5
Yeah.
months.
So I said to him, if we just leave now,
Just Burke
we
and
got
Wills.
heaps of time.
There'll be a dig tree at about Crafers.
Yeah.
What? So what kind of journey? Like, how long is the journey that you're? Because I've never done it before, and
I was just about to say, have you done Lofty?
No.
Pete? No. I've done it twice only, and I loathed it with a passion. But I'm like, I'm one of those people that just doesn't enjoy exercise. I don't know how to get over that. Maybe I should tune in.
You need a guy.
I need a guy.
Hmm.
So you've obviously done it, Mike.
I think I've done Lofty once or twice. I've done a lot of trails and stuff through the hills and what have you. Doing Lofty is not my thing, but Brooksy said, "Hey, I want to do Lofty." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna do Lofty with you." That's
Just simply
gonna
because
happen.
it's an achievable local goal and it's free.
so we've got Alexis who's doing the Hyson Trail at the moment over months,
Yep.
Yeah, so he does
Yeah.
a little bit here.
a little
and
bit here
there.
and there.
I'm like that with jigsaw puzzles.
Yep, I'm like that with fixing my life.
Yeah.
But when you so how long is this? Like, how many are we talking? Like, a couple of 100 meters. We're talking a couple of Ks.
This is an excellent question that we haven't researched.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
We really should have done some more research.
Well, you're like, what? It's long. It's uphill.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's my
There's no
thing. Is
escalator?
I know that it's obviously uphill.
Yeah.
And I'd look at that and I go, but if I walk the other direction, that's downhill.
There's a
think
car
it's-
park at the top, and you can start at the top and just go downhill.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
well, that'd be an
can.
easier
You can
journey.
Uber
Oh,
the car.
have you been? When I did it, there was like first of all people running downhill, right?
Yeah,
Or
screw
like,
those people.
You're not impressing anyone, mate.
I'm like, your poor knees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the people running uphill, I was like,
You still want to put
oh,
a stick in front
man,
of them.
Come on.
Yeah, I can remember not running up here. I can remember there's, a couple of flat bits. And,
Yeah.
And I could run that, but then when it starts getting uphill, then it's pumpy, walky. I don't think it's quite hands on the knees.
Yeah,
going up
I
some of
know.
those hills where you get your elbows to help your knees out.
Nah, man. I'm
kind of
getting
stuff.
ski poles. I'm getting gators.
Yes.
I'm going to have a Sherpa. I'm going to take a camel.
So, other than the podcast to help you get motivated, what else are you doing that's helping you prepare for this?
Look, I mean, up until COVID, my partner was also training for a marathon as well, which was that was pretty good motivation when she's out running 8 or 9 Ks down the beach and I'm sitting at home watching YouTube with my son. So that's all good motivation. But no, like that's what this podcast is. It's because I wasn't motivated. I knew I needed to change, but I knew I needed kind of like a weekly goal to stick to. So that's kind of what I've set up. Is like it's a very public shaming process, I suppose. Almost.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What if no one ever listens to this podcast? Will you give it up?
Oh, yeah.
I expected that answer.
Yeah.
Which really puts a burden on the listening public.
It's really on them.
Right? Like
You
they
hear
have
that?
to listen, otherwise John could die.
Yeah.
And that's real. And that's real.
Do you want that on your hands?
Yeah.
Do you?
Do you?
Yeah.
I mean, I can always rebrand it and do the Downhill podcast. Maybe people will listen to that. Or the How Big Can I Get podcast.
Oh, no.
There was a film.
There'd be
called-
people that'd actually probably do a Patreon for that.
Yeah,
because,
they would, yeah. Saw pictures of my feet. All that sort of stuff.
You know, I know a guy for that.
It's the same guy I got now.
It would be.
Yeah.
Now,
Don't stroke your beard like that.
Now listen. I'm remembering a thing now. There was a film. I think it's called Protocol, and it has Tom Hanks' son in it. Is a serial killer who puts people into predicaments and then YouTubes them. And the mechanism that is going to kill these people is activated by the number of views that they get.
Right.
So when 200,000 people watch the video, the acid gets released.
oh, wow.
So this podcast is the opposite of that. If we get enough viewers, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're both comedians.
Yes.
And
It's weird that you made that a question.
our Nona is a comedian.
Yep.
Up and coming.
That was a double question.
Yeah.
Last time that we had her in the studio here with us as well, she came up against some hecklers, and I was going to ask before you guys
How many
started
times
talking.
do I need to apologise for that, Nona?
You said that.
Have you guys experienced that? And then what kind of tips can we give to our Nona to help combat that in the
Yeah.
future?
Because they were scary. I'll openly admit they were like really scary hecklers.
That was more of a rabble than a crowd. They had pitchforks.
Were you there as well?
No, I've heard the audio of it. It
Okay.
was something else.
Right.
That was a baptism of fire, and you survived.
I haven't heard this. Where was it at?
It was at the South Adelaide Football Club. I don't give a shit.
Hey, man, this doesn't
Okay.
even broadcast far enough south. It's
okay.
fine.
Okay, so you've entered their turf,
Yeah.
and that's how to handle a heckler. And that point is never invite them in. You can't give them oxygen in the first place. And the moment there's blood in the water,
Yeah.
then they're gonna come at you. How to deal with it, man? There's probably a
What's
lot
been
of
the worst
silence.
heckles that you guys have had?
Well, I mean, for a start, you were dealing with the kind of people that get into fights at Auskick. So
Yeah.
I've had some seriously shockers. I reckon the worst one I ever had was the Adelaide Fringe in maybe 2012. No, it's 2011. And there was a couple sitting at the front. It was 2 women, and they were just Boris Yeltsin drunk. They were so far gone. It was the late show. It tends to happen with the later shows, especially towards the end of Fringe. People are getting pretty loose. They would not be quiet. And I was still fairly green as a comic, so I went out there and thought, I'm going to deal with them like a comedy boss. And I just got them mad, and they ended up getting up on stage wanting to fight me, like physically wanting to fight me. And one of them was really big and scary. So all I could do was, there was a band who was playing after us. I jumped on the drum kit and just played drums until they left. That's all I could do. And I was hiding behind it like Ringo Starr when he was worried about being shot. That's pretty much where things were at.
Do you play the drums? Because I'm just picturing someone who doesn't know how to play.
Yeah. I used to play in a band called the Guantanamo Bay City Rollers.
Yes,
Yeah.
true.
So, do you have a set of drums that you can take to your next set?
Yeah, that's okay. I'm taking notes.
Add that to the rider.
Yeah.
I need M&M's, Red Bull, vodka,
And
full
a drum kit.
One of the best things about hecklers is what you need to understand is that most of the time the rest of the crowd hates them more than you do.
Right.
And it's pretty easy to turn the crowd against them. I always find that's the most fun way of dealing with it, just peer pressure when the rest of the crowd turns on them like a cancer.
Totally. I make it really awkward in the room.
Yeah.
I will... It depends on what you're dealing with. If you're dealing with someone who's drunk and unreasonable, then you've got to go hard, fast, and because you can't score points and look at me, I outwitted you, because they're drunk and dumb.
Yeah.
They're not listening.
Reason's gone.
Right? They don't realise that you beat them. So at that point, I've got to cut through. So I will straight up go way too hard, way too soon.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of stuff where it's like, look, I want you to have another 7 or 8 beers and then drive home and just go way too hard, right? And then you have that thing happen where the audience goes, oh, you went too hard, right? But then I fix it because then I know it feels pretty bad in here, everyone. But sometimes you need to shoot a hostage to let the cops know you're serious. And they're like, oh, he knew what he was doing.
Hey! Now,
I like-
you guys are going to stick around for a little while with us, aren't you?
Oh, no, it's my understanding that we've got to get them out of the studio right away.
I'm not going to lie, we have children.
Oh, we wanted to play
And
games
it's a
with you, but
school
it's
night.
all good in the hood. God, you had
What kind
one.
of game?
Yeah. Oh, well, wouldn't you like to know?
It's one where she rides around on a tricycle with a mask on.
Saw my foot off again.
No, it's all good.
But
So-
here's my promise to you, we will come back again,
yeah,
Yeah.
we would love that.
right?
So before you head off, once again, what's the name of the podcast? Where can we find it? And a quick summary. What's it about?
Okay, so it's called Lofty Ambitions. You can get it on all good podcast players, so Apple, Spotify, Good Pods, all those different players. It's just me and Mike on a journey to better living, mostly me because Mike's already doing pretty well. And it's not just informative, it's also hopefully very funny. So first episode is now live. You can get it on those places. Good old social media. You can find us on Instagram at lofty.ambitions, or you can follow me at @thejohnbrooks on Instagram. I hate the fact that it's got a "the" at the start of it. I'm not that self-important. It's just a better... There's a country musician with the same name, so I missed out.
John Brooks.
It's up.
It's up.
It's
It's
up.
live.
Yeah.
It's
I've
launched.
just subscribed to it.
Oh, thank you.
And
Yay!
Now I have to keep going.
We have 1 subscriber. High five!
Woohoo!
And your first episode was up 22 hours ago, it says here.
Yeah, so I could actually get it onto the podcast services.
Yeah.
Shut up, Pete.
I'm just saying. Like,
But
there's
it
one
had
there
no
now.
It had no listens, did it?
No, yes, it has.
And long may it remain that way.
Yes.
Thanks
And
so much for coming in, guys.
Besides,
We
sorry,
really
besides
appreciate
that one there as well, you did say you did 2 others as
Yeah,
well.
so
What
there's
were they?
another one that's I'm still doing every week called Gabbin in the Woods.
Yep.
And if you want to get into that one, that's also on like Spotify and Apple. Gabbin with no G, so Gabbin in the Woods. And I'd started episode 2, which is about the Knowles UFO encounter on the Nullarbor.
Nice.
Good
What's
fun.
wrong with episode 1, mate?
We deleted it.
So episode 2 it is then.
Yeah,
Government shut you down.
they
You were
did.
too
Yeah.
close to the truth.
All right, guys. Thanks very much for joining us. So Podbean is on Podbean as well. So
cool.
any reputable podcast app you can find Lofty Ambitions. I have just subscribed, so
Thank you so
can
much.
consider me a listener now as well. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to go to a music break. We'll come back. You're on the show 89.7 PBA FM. We'll be back shortly.